Swing. I mean, many of you probably think that that's, what you would consider swing. And yes, it is, to me, in my humble opinion, swinging of some sort, kind of as a music, swing music. Oh, it's swinging, the man. It's swinging, and you playing this kind of, this kind of thing, where it's swinging, right? Well, to me, the Kirk Fletcher way, I think that you can incorporate this in many different other types of music, into your rhythm playing as well as your lead playing. And I think this is one big thing that's missing in a lot of blues playing and, R&B and funk and all of different kind of music like that. There's old country records that swing hard, because it's the feel which they play, the swing feel. And this is something that harkens back to a long time ago during the swing era in drummers. I mean, even if you take a guy like Ginger Baker or Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix Experience, these guys are coming from the jazz background. They're coming from swinging and playing, or whatever. They're coming out of that. So that music has a certain swing element to it, and even, like James Brown or whatever like that, when I think of James Brown and I think of like different ideas that you can do, where you can take a simple 9 chord and make it swing and it just feels different, to just play. You're swinging it. You're adding that swing with that relaxed feel, and it's like adds a kind of a human element to it, And this is the thing, this is the hard thing, because there are forms of music that I like that are really rigid, and just like playing beats, because I'm, an 80s kid, so I grew up in the era of hip hop music and funk with sequencers and all that kind of stuff. So obviously I really like that kind of stuff too. But this is more, like we're talking about roots music. We're talking about blues especially, and incorporating some of the things in it, that I feel are, missing in a lot of it these days. And this swing element is a huge part of that. You can have all the notes, you can play, but the thing that makes it sound different from those old records, I think, is a big part swing. When you get a guy like B.B. King, you think that this guy was listening to Louis Jordan and T-Bone Walker and a whole s'more. He was sort of a musical sponge to all of the things that were going around when he started. I know. I mean, he talks about it, But, that's the thing that I really, dynamics, swing, when you play like, B.B. King, he's really coming from that, even if you play a slow blues, it should still swing in a way. I was very fortunate to play with some great musicians around the LA area when I was just starting to play in clubs and stuff, play blues in clubs, guys like Linwood Slim and, the Hollywood Fats Band with Al Blake, Richard Ennis and Larry Taylor, that rhythm section, and Fred Kaplan, my good buddy Fred Kaplan. Those guys had a real depth in things swinging, and I play with a lot of harmonica players, and on the West Coast, pretty much every harmonica band, has some form of a jump blues that they call it, a swing blues. I kind of look at it as swing. And this is kind of different than like jazz, like to me, jazz is, you can't even describe what jazz is. There's so many different things, just like blues, it's a lot of different things. But swing to me, is like kind of it's a feeling, and it's what I actually dig the most about, jazz music. I don't play jazz music. I'm playing blues, but you have to incorporate some swing element into the kind of blues that I like to play, on the bandstand, and the kind of blues that I like to listen to, it swings in a way, Even when you get the great Chicago blues drummers like Fred Below and people like that, S.P. Leary, them cats swung. And it was tough. I mean, it was the combination of tough and that electrified Delta thing and this whole thing of most of the drummers from that time, listen to jazz drummers or listen to swing drummers, and they was coming out of that element. So I think the thing that will give playing a more of a earthy thing to it is just definitely incorporating and investigating this type, of feel in music that incorporates this kind of feel. Like, mid-60s James Brown, right before he transitioned into like the super funky, like mustache era, and B.B. King, obviously, anything by B.B. King, he's like way swinging like crazy. But even going back to like, people like Count Basie and Louis Prima and, guys like that, and Benny Goodman with Charlie Christian playing with him, that's another big thing. And you don't necessarily have to learn how to play jazz to get what I'm saying. You have to listen to it and become a musical sponge to incorporate these ideas and think outside the box, of players that aren't just right now. You have to go back in order to go forward with your own style or whatever. So this is one tip that I was really laid heavy on my heart today, and I just want to discuss a little bit of it with you, just my philosophies on blues playing, rhythm playing and making things feel good, And another thing I will say too, again, that dancing thing. This music, a lot of this blues music was created, and funk music and everything was created so people could dance. Even country music or whatever, roots music was kind of meant as a form of music where people could go out to the bar and they could dance. So if we like these old records and we want to dissect them and find out why, they sound a certain way and we don't sound that way anymore. These are some of the things that you have to study the history of it to kind of find out what were people doing at that time, and this is always so fascinating to me and led me down a whole life journey on studying music, just not studying it notation wise, but studying it in a historical way and also in a really nerdy way too, finding out who played on this record. Who is the person that made this record tick? What drummer played on here? What kind of bass player played on here? What bass player played on here? What organ player played on here? And I've always searched out those really iconic musicians who make the album, make the music or whatever really tick. People like Billy Preston, the organ player. Think about Billy Preston, even with the Beatles or whoever, he's the guy, that really made things move. He was a genius musician, You get people like Cornell Dupree. I always talk about Cornell Dupree. James Gatson, Steve Gadd even, Larry Carlton, my good buddy Mike Landau. These guys do little parts on things. And I go, how did they figure that out? That's what I want to know about Wah Wah Watson. How could he play that wah wah and make it percussive, make it a hook, make it all of these different things happen with the groove, and you could find this a lot more, in my humble opinion, in records going all the way back to like the 30s, 40s, all the way to the 70s, 80s, 90s, a little less, 2000, and there's always people in genres that move it forward or whatever, and I love a lot of modern music too, but I feel that we really have to go back to go forward in everything, or to even if we don't want to do that from the past, but to learn about it and try and not fall down fall down the ladder with some of those mistakes, by doing things a certain way. Sound all political now. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. And remember, become a crate digger. Dig out those albums, dig out that music, do your research and find out about it. I'm sure you'll find something that really excites you in so many different ways. All right, Kirk Fletcher signing off.